stories about water and urban places. This is Ideanthro.
Hey everyone, and welcome back to Ideanthro. In this episode, I would like to clarify something. On Ideanthro, we have talked a lot about the importance of getting canopy into bioretention systems. And what I'd like to clarify is that when we say it's important to get canopy into bioretention systems, we're not implying that it's not also important to have understory in systems. So to think this through, what you've got to realize is we are talking about this coming from the position where the vast majority of bioretention systems have been constructed with only understory plants in them. So when we start to wax lyrical about canopy in bioretention systems, it's not because we don't think there's a place for understory plants, but it's just because the place for canopy is being so regularly and so frequently overlooked that we end up just talking about the canopy bit, when what we should be talking about is a multifaceted ecosystem. And in this episode, I'm going to show you an example of why that's important. Just one example, but an example of why that's important. First, to understand this, we need to realize I'm in a bioretention system here. Over my shoulder is the surrounding bushland. And I'm going to spin the camera around and let's show you something here. What we can see in this shot is that there is canopy, there is understory, and there's a whole bunch of leaf litter on the surface. So that is the natural state of affairs for bushland in this particular area. Let's now spin round and come for a wander down into this bioretention system here. So it's a reasonably large system, not excessively so, but it's quite a few hundred square meters in size. And we're wandering into the center, and this system does have canopy in it. And so let's firstly look at this little area here. Now, what do you notice the difference here? There's two things different here to that bushland. One, there's no understory plants. And two, then there's essentially no leaf litter either. If we spin sideways here and walk out to a bit of the system where there's some understory plants, also there's a really wet patch that has some aquatic macrophytes, but some understory plants, we can start to see organic matter being caught up on the surface of the system here. So, understory plants, organic matter on the surface, but as soon as we come into this bit that's only trees, there's none of that organic matter on the surface. And the reason that this is important is that if I get down in here, I'll try and video this, and if I kick away at the surface here, it's really tough, and there's not much in the way of roots getting into that. And there's some fine sediment that's got into this system here. We've got a few roots running through there, but not really a lot going on. It was pretty hard to kick into. Now, if we go for a little wander, let's go through this way, further in towards the back of the system here, we can find a patch where we actually do have some canopy and some understory coexisting together. And guess what? We start to get this leaf litter built up on the surface of the system here. And this is really important because if I now clear that away and come for a kick, much easier to kick through. And in certain bits of it, this might make a bit of a liar of me. Oh no, there we go. We do start to get, typically, more root growth in and amongst these areas that had the leaf litter over the top. It makes this stuff more hospitable. It's really tiny, it's really subtle. Look, little fine hairs of roots in amongst this bigger one running there. Oh, look where that's, I wonder where that came from. But the point here is that when we only have when we only have canopy in the system, there's nothing to keep the leaf litter on the surface like there is in the natural bushland. So if we're trying to mimic natural bushland here, then we want to see that leaf litter on the surface of the system because it breaks down, it adds organic matter to the filter media, makes it a hospitable environment for the plants to live, etc, etc, etc. But if we have only the canopy in a bioretention system where there are flows and there's velocity, then that leaf litter is not going to stay on the surface. It's exactly the reason why we have to pin down sugarcane mulch when we first put it into bioretention systems, because otherwise it'll wash away. With only a little tube stock there, when the systems are new, it'll wash away. But if we spin round we get to this section where suddenly we've got some understory and these lomandras are slowing the flow and breaking it down, then the leaf litter drops out onto the surface, and suddenly this looks like the bushland where we've got the canopy in the tree, we've got the understory. Sure, it's different types of plants because this is a much wetter environment, so we have very different species. But we have the canopy, we have the understory, we have the leaf litter on the surface, and this is much, much, much more like a natural environment. And so, if we're trying to mimic nature with these bioretention systems, we have to remember that in spite of the fact that it's so easy to talk about we need more canopy in these systems, we're only talking about that because we're coming from a place of so little canopy. And it's far more accurate to talk about we need a dense, multi-layered ecosystem here with some understory, some mid-story, some canopy, if we want these resilient ecosystems. And this is just one example of why if we get that mix wrong and go canopy only, we just don't quite hit all the markers that we want. Yes, that canopy only is probably better than understory only, but it's not as good as if we go canopy and understory.
Before you go, our best episodes come from your questions. This knowledge base, these discussions that are Ideanthro improve with your contribution. So if there's a topic, an idea, a concept that you would like us to explore, come and ask us. You know where to find us. www.ideanthro.com/contact. You can find us on Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn, and that place you get your good podcasts from. You know where to find us. We look forward to hearing from you. We'll see you soon.